Welcome to Live, Let Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let
Thrive. What's up, Myka, man?
I am chilling. How you doing, Stevie Stacks?
Yeah, I just got done washing the rides, man. I had to run up here and get this interview up and running.
Washing the rides. You haven't automated that yet either?
I'll see. I will tell you something. I rotated my own tires the other day and it nearly killed me. So I'm like, yeah, Myka's got something about this automation thing. I could have paid someone $25 to do it and just had my whole Sunday back, you know.
There you go. I was watching the Cowboys game while you were doing that.
Yeah, well, see who won in that situation. I'd have rather been rotating tires than watching the crappy Cowboys playing. Anyways.
Yeah. So we have a special guest on today. We have Mr. Kyle Stanley.
Give it up for Kyle.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. Excited to be on here. I'm not anywhere near Texas, but I do love me some Texas.
And where are you based out of, Kyle?
Fresno, California.
Fresno.
Nice.
Yeah. People always ask me, why would anyone want to go to Fresno? And I still don't know the answer to that.
I know the answer.
What's that?
When I'm flying to LA and it's all filled up, the flights, I fly standby, I have to go somewhere like Fresno. Or
there you go. That is a good reason.
I might buy a keychain at the airport, but
Yeah. So how's the Fresno market as far as, well, first of all, I'll give him a little background of yourself and what you do, because he has a very interesting way of doing Airbnb. So yeah, give him a little background.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I mean, I don't know how deep you want me to go into this story, but I'll kind of
real quick, Kyle. This is episode 104 of your favorite Airbnb share economy podcast. All right, go, Kyle.
All right, sounds good. So real brief story of me. I'm from Fresno originally. Moved away for 10 years. One of those places I moved was Scottsdale, Arizona. Bought my first house. And when I bought my first house, I realized very quickly that I might have bought a house too soon, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'll be able to afford this mortgage. And a friend of mine told me about Airbnb. This was 2014, 15, right around there. Mm-hmm. And if you guys are familiar with the term house hacking, decided to take the house hacking way of Airbnb, putting the room together. And I had a couple roommates too. And so since then, I've never paid a single dollar on my mortgage because of Airbnb. But then in 2016, my dad was diagnosed with bone cancer. And so it was time to move back to Fresno. And so kind of gave up what I was doing over in Arizona. And when I moved to Fresno, I said, well, shoot, I'm not going to be able to do Airbnb in Fresno. No one wants to stay there. So I kind of put it off for like 3 weeks. And then I was like, you know what? I might as well give it a shot. I threw up a listing there. For lack of a better term, I really half-assed the listing, because I was like, no one's going to want to book here anyway. First night it got booked, and I was like, why are you coming to Fresno? And since then, guys, I've been doing it for 3 years here, and I've consistently had the business person, the family person, and the traveler wanting to go to Yosemite or the Sequoia National Park, LA, San Francisco, and they use Fresno as this hub. And if you go onto airdna.com, Fresno is an A- in terms of listings. And the demand is like 98 out of 100. It's crazy. And I was just like, there's something to this. So essentially, I kept on doing the room. In 2018, I got curious. I was like, what can I do with an entire house? I threw some astronomical price on there. That got booked 3 days in a row. And I was like, okay, it's time to really take a look at this thing. Since then, bless you. Since then, for the last basically half a year, I've been doing full houses, and just locked down my second rental arbitrage today. Actually just walked into an apartment complex and gave the spiel, and 2 hours later they're calling me, and I've got my now 5th Airbnb under contract, and just rolling with this thing. I was telling Myka here, I do flipping on the side, but that's kind of my bonus money, and Airbnb is really my consistent cash flow that I get every month.
Wow. So you said you're up to 5. So you're arbitraging and buying, right?
Yep. I've got 3 that I bought, and then 2 that I'm arbitraging. The 3 that I bought, 2 were with my own money. Again, it was just one of those things where I had my own house, wasn't in the best area for Airbnb. It was in a really nice neighborhood, but wasn't the best area for Airbnb for what people were coming to Fresno for. I just really decided to get to know my customers, and my customers all wanted close to a highway, close to the airport, or close to Fresno State. And I wasn't close to any of those. So I decided to sell my house. I bought 2 rentals with that house. And then my third house that I got is actually 2 houses on one lot. And we can kind of go into that one in a little bit. That's kind of my favorite one. I get cash flow about $2,100 to $2,300 a month on that one.
Whoa.
Yeah, because essentially what happened there was that was going to be a flip. And then me being new to flipping here in January, that's when I started my flipping career. My mentor said, Kyle, that's a rental all day long. And I was like, well, why is that a rental? And he got to telling me. And then I was like, well, why would I want to do a long-term renter there? Why don't I just do what I know I'm good at, which is Airbnb? So I put a long-term tenant in the big house, and I'm Airbnb-ing the small house, and the long-term tenant is managing and cleaning the small house.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that.
And so literally the big house, like 90% of the mortgage and expenses are covered by the long-term tenant. And then right after like day 3 in the small house, I'm just cash flowing. And
That's
that thing is
beautiful.
For example, this last 70 days has been booked up from one person who's here in town for work. So that those 3 are enough to give me a full-time income. But then I got really excited about the arbitrage stuff recently, and have locked down 2 apartments for arbitrage, maybe even a 3rd single family home here pretty soon. We'll see.
Whoa.
Man, you're moving.
Trying.
So I take it Fresno's pretty Airbnb friendly?
When you say Airbnb friendly, you mean
like there's no strict laws against it?
We just actually had one that was kind of, because of stuff going on in Sacramento, there was a couple like news stories in Sacramento of people's places getting trashed. Fresno kind of, put their antenna up. They're kind of the last place to find out about things, it seems like, in California. We call it, Fresno's like living in California without actually living in California because of prices and really just not cut up with the rest of society. But they heard about some stuff in Sacramento. So the city got together, talked about it, and said, do we need to put some sort of regulations on it? Lucky for us, all they did was put a business license. You got to get a business license. So that's coming up here where I've got to do that. And, to me, that's an advantage because I think a lot of the fakers here in Fresno that are just wanting to make a couple extra bucks are not going to stick around once they find out they got to go down to the city and get a license. So, yeah, not much regulations here.
Well, that's great, man. I know Myka's already looking up the real estate in Fresno as we speak.
No. I had some questions though, since it seems like it's pretty profitable out there, right? Since you're doing all that, and then you said you have total of 5. And are all your 5 in Fresno, or you sold your house in Scottsdale?
Yeah, sold my house in Scottsdale, then bought a house in Fresno, and then 2 years later sold the house in Fresno in order to buy 2 rentals in better areas. So I currently, when my dad passed away, I moved in with my mom just to help her with, the transition. So currently I'm living there, which is very lucky. I don't have any rent. But right now I'm building up an empire in Fresno in order to be able to, in the next year, live wherever I want, however I want, whenever I want. That is the goal. And I'll tell you this, just in terms of the profitable question, it's not Southern California. I'm not making, I've got a buddy of mine that has 28 arbitrage places in Fresno, which, by the way, I'd love to introduce you to him. He'd probably be a great guest for you. There's one place he makes like $30,000 a month, just one place. And, the Southern California is crazy good for it. But, in Fresno, what I love about it is that they're still learning about Airbnb. So this town is very open to these new ideas. So I'm not going into apartment complex and getting shut down. I'm getting a lot of, hey, that's really interesting. I haven't heard about that. Let me talk to my manager. And so that's what happened today, was I met with a leasing agent. They're like, this is really interesting. They had actually never heard of Airbnb. Where I was like, where have you been? and then she called me 2 hours later and she's like, hey, my owner said that they want to give it a shot and we'll do a little trial run. So that's the benefit of being in Fresno. And so, I'm really happy with $1,000 profit, but my goal with every place is at least $1,200 a month. Yeah.
Man,
Nice.
that's one heck of a profit margin, man. So with you having those 5 up and running, are you fully automated, or you got all your systems in place? And what do you use to automate your business?
Yeah. So right now, the only thing that I do is either accept or decline guests. That is the only thing that I've got my hands on. Because I still have a manageable amount of Airbnbs, 3 moving into 5, I have a manager who is also my assistant that I've just hired to take over managing all of them. She communicates with all the guests. She and another person clean all the places. But as I'm adding on more here, what we're doing is we're hiring professional cleaning companies who I'm negotiating prices with. Was able to find a really good one here in town that's going to work with me for about $40 an hour. So I'll take that. And then I've looked into Guesty, for communication with guests. I'm not sold on it yet, just because my system is working really well with having a manager, and I know that she's happy. So as long as I continue to pay her for her time, she's got buy-in, and I want buy-in. That's the thing. Mike, I saw your face. Do you not have a good experience with Guesty?
They're a bit expensive.
Are they?
And
okay.
They expensive, and they take too long to get their automations to where they're supposed to be. So I used them for about a year, and then I kind of hopped off the Guesty train.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now your manager, is she like a co-host? Do you pay her like a co-host, or how does that work?
Yeah, she's a co-host. And basically what we've done, because she's also my assistant, I've just started paying her a salary. And when I say assistant, because I'm doing other things outside of Airbnb, I've got a lot of paperwork with flipping houses, and because I have my own podcast and my own YouTube channel where I'm doing a lot of things as well. She does a lot of those types of things. So what I've done is I've just integrated essentially what I think the amount of time is that she'll be spending on average on Airbnb and my other things to come out to a salary per month that comes out to about $20 an hour. And so if she works more, that's great. If she works less, that's great for her. So basically, yeah, that's where I've got it at now. And what's really cool is that her mom has been looking for a place to live. So what we're doing is, with one of my Airbnbs, we are converting the garage into a bedroom, and her mom is going to live in that bedroom and is going to also be like an on-site manager that is going to clean as well. So because of that move, so if you can kind of picture these numbers, I'm a numbers guy, so I'll try to slow it down enough for the audience here, but I'm averaging at that place about $1,400 of cash flow a month. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot place right next to the highway. And so I'm putting in $7,000 to change the garage into a bedroom. She's going to pay me $600 a month to live there. So essentially in 12 months, I'll have my investment back. But in return, she's also going to take $400 of expenses every month out of cleaning. And she would have had to pay about $750 to $800 to live there. I'm giving her reduced rent. So I'm getting about $1,000 swing, which is going to take this $1,400 cash flow place into a $2,200 to $2,400 cash place, so that I'm going to get my money back from that investment in about 6 to 7 months.
Now this is a beautiful concept, because you spoke about it at the other place, how the person that was living there, manages and then pays for the long-term rental part of the house or the big house, and then manages your rental for you, your short-term rental. And now your friend's mom's gonna do this. It's like you're hiring. I mean, you're putting your long-term renters to work for you. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing is that, I want to encourage people to do the same thing, but I also want to encourage people to do the research, because there are, based on states, a lot of regulations, and, can turn into lawsuits as well. So people need to be aware as well that, hey, if Sally is going to live in the garage and Sally is going to clean the place, and she's getting, essentially $200 a month, then it's been established that Sally is working for $10 an hour for an average of 20 hours every single month. And if she is logging her hours and reporting that to you, then you're in the clear. If she's not logging her hours with you, but she's privately logging her hours on the side and saying, oh, I worked 40 hours this week, or 40 hours this month. I should have been paid $400 instead of $200. And suddenly after 2 years, now she's got, $10,000 of expenses that she hasn't been paid for. And now she wants to sue because for one reason or another, that's been her plan the whole time or whatever, that people can get into trouble. So I want people to try this, but at the same time, do your research and make sure that you're doing it the right way and not just assuming that Sally is going to, be your best bud and be okay with the situation.
Now, if you're telling her, like if she does the cleanings and stuff, instead of you paying her cash money, you're just taking off $400 a month for the rent. Is that still kind of like payments or what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to give that type of advice. But that's the way I'm doing it, and people are just basically logging their hours. But again, it just depends on what legal advice you're getting. I don't want to get on here and start giving legal advice. I just want to encourage people that if they want to go down that route, then, check it out. Make sure you do your due diligence.
But just the concept alone is it's taking the share economy to the next level, because people complain, we can't, Airbnb is pushing people out, nobody can afford places anymore. Oh, you know what, I got a place for you at a decent price, but all you got to do is manage the Airbnb part of the house. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's like a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, and if you're doing it the right way and you're not, buying mansions or, arbitraging mansions, and then these people are, cleaning a 700 to 1,000 square foot place that should take them, 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 5 to 10 times a month. It's not a big thing to ask, and they get a great deal for having reduced rent.
And then your friend, real quick on your friend that you're paying, what amounts to $20 an hour to manage, your all your everything real estate going on. She can go find a VA in the Philippines and pay them $3 an hour, and then she don't have to do nothing. Just split the difference.
Exactly. She hasn't quite gotten there yet, but well, and that's the thing is that I was told by a lot of people, get a virtual assistant, and I've got a virtual assistant for a lot of my podcast stuff and YouTube channel for editing and everything. But when it comes to, some of the things that I need a little bit more trust, like, passwords for accounts and things like that, that's my comfort zone, is having someone that I trust and someone that's local and in town rather than someone across seas.
Nice.
Most definitely. So I like the fact you're doing arbitraging and buying. So I'm going to ask this question, but I think I already know the answer because of how you set it up. Which have you found to be a little bit more, I guess, more profitable, the arbitraging or the houses that you buy?
Well, the way that I teach it to people is, do you want to make money short term or do you want to make money long term? You've got 4 different ways to earn money when you buy a house. You've got 1 way of earning money when you arbitrage a house. So when you buy a house, you can get the cash flow, which you also get as an arbitrage. So there's your 1 way in arbitrage. Your first way in buying is, you're going to be able to get the cash flow. The tenant is paying the debt. You're going to get tax advantages every single year. And then that bonus one, which I really don't promote, but I say, hey, the 4th and bonus way is really appreciation. If you appreciate, then suddenly after, and I just did a video here. If you guys want, I can send you the link too. But I mean, are you familiar with Grant Cardone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Grant, I'm a fan of Grant. What I'm not a fan of is him saying that Cardone Capital is the best way to invest money if you have no knowledge, no expertise, and no money when investing into real estate, because it's not. You're getting a 4.5% return on your money if you're not an accredited investor. If you're an accredited investor, you're getting 6%. Well, in Airbnb alone, if I go arbitrage a place, even if I use my own money, let's just say it's $10,000 for that first year for furnishing and for security deposit and everything, and I'm cash flowing $1,000 every single month, I just got essentially 120% on my money in year 1. So, which if you do the math there, like I said, I'm a numbers person. If you do the math there, you're getting basically like 12% every single month. So, or 10% every single month. So why am I going to give my money to someone else when I can adopt these systems from someone that's already been doing it and use my own money to go and grow my money faster? And so for me, yeah, if I'm going to invest my own money, I'm going to either buy or arbitrage, and I'm going to get a better return than just hoping that someone else is going to do great with my money. On the other side, just to answer your question here, Myka, I believe in Fresno, California, it's better to own, because when the market corrects itself or the economy crashes again, people are going to come from San Francisco and from LA, and they're going to go to Fresno. I don't think that there's going to be as much of an effect in Fresno. I could be wrong, but I want to own more. And in the meantime, though, if I can't own because I don't have the funds or I don't have the the deals coming my way, then I'm going to arbitrage as much as possible so I can start getting that cash flow.
Man,
Smart,
I like that.
smart.
Yeah,
Diversification.
Yeah. Well, and then, obviously with arbitraging, you just don't have to worry about as much if it's an apartment complex. You got your electric and internet, and that's it. With a house, you got to get that pest. You got to get the what's it called? The landscaping, the utilities, like all these different things that are going to cut into your profits that, don't end up being as profitable.
So could you walk us through how you present to an apartment complex, like the scenario of arbitrage?
Sure. For me, I go in there. I never share my intent. I never tell them, hey, I'm going to come in and talk to you about having a corporate rental. What I do is I just go in as if I'm going to rent the place out myself, but I don't focus on asking a bunch of questions about the apartment complex. I just really try to make a friend. I try to ask them lots and lots of questions about not only the apartment, but about themselves. Hey, are you from here? Did you grow up here? What high school did you go to? Try to find some commonalities, that way after they've showed me the demo of the place and, taken me through everything, if it looks like a good fit to me and they take me back to the leasing office and we sit down and I just say, hey, listen, you can kick me out if you want to, but here's the deal. I've got a different situation than what most people have. And this is what I have to offer. And I give them my brochure, and I also give them my pros and cons of working with someone like me. I say, I've got this company. It's called Fearless Flipping Vacation and Corporate. If it's not in front of me, I have to think about it. It's such a mouthful. Fearless Flipping Vacation and Corporate Rentals Short-Term Management Company. Or essentially what I do is I pre-screen every guest that's going to be coming in and staying at the lease that you will give to me through the platform of Airbnb. Are you familiar with Airbnb? I asked them that question. And like I said, people like today who have never heard of Airbnb, I got to educate them now versus someone who is familiar with Airbnb. I got to break down those walls. I got to figure out what's your experience with Airbnb. How do you, what have you experienced from both a guest or a hosting standpoint of Airbnb, so that I can start to really show them how what I do is different than maybe what their experience was if it was a negative or a positive one. And then I just kind of let the materials that I bring with me do the rest of the talking. I show them how I'm going to clean it every single time. I'm going to pre-screen every single guest. I'm going to, if you don't have a repairman on site, I'm going to bring in the repairman. I've got a guy who does great work here in town. The liability, it's none of the liability is on your shoulders. It's all on mine. I'm protected with $1 million insurance policy. And at the end of the day, this doesn't add another job to you. It actually is still, you're treating me just like a tenant. If there's a noise complaint, you don't have to go talk to the guests. You call me, I handle it. And so through showing them that, I essentially tell them, hey, listen, at the end of the day, if this lease gets broken, you're going to have that place in just as good, if not better condition when I leave than when I got there. And so at that point, I just asked them, is this something that you would consider? And most of the time, I would say, one out of every, so far, maybe 1 out of every 6 to 8 say yes. And the other, 5 or 6 say, I'm not sure. I got to run up the flagpole. I got to try, or we don't allow this, but I'm okay with getting the no's, because at the end of the day, because I made a friend, they're not like, get the hell out of here. They're, hey, thanks for sharing this with me. I can try, but I don't think it's going to work. And it's a pretty easy no to take.
I love
Nice.
that you don't fear no, man. Consistency is key. Like you just said, 1 out of 6 to 8 say yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's consistency is key. And I think your biggest niche is that you're in a city where they don't really know what Airbnb is. So you use that to your advantage. Because yeah, here in Texas, you say Airbnb, it's get out of here. that's a bad word. But yeah, I love that.
That's a great percentage you're batting there, because our buddy AJ, he does pretty good at arbitrage, and he 1 in 100 might say yes to him. So
it's all about the place, right? It's all about location. Friend of mine who's here in town right now, she's trying to do this in Cincinnati, and so she's talking about like, hey, can I expect the same thing? I said, I don't really know, but I think Cincinnati is probably going to be like a bigger city where it's going to be a little bit more, a little bit more common that people are doing arbitrage. So you got to go in there with the idea that I'm going to get a no, but at least I'm going to make a friend. Like I'm not going to go in there as a salesperson. I'm going to go in there as a normal person who's just looking at an apartment. And if I get shot down, I get shot down, but I did it in a professional way. And I showed this person that, hey, I'm here to show you what I've got. And if you don't like it, no big deal.
Now we'll just dig a little deeper into it, because this is like the number one question we get asked on this show is how do we start our arbitrage? Because so many people, they ain't trying to buy houses and stuff to do this. They want to arbitrage. It seems like an easy buck for them, and so they're always asking us how do I start? How do I ask them? What do I do? And so you said you go in there like a normal person. Now you don't go in there with like a suit and tie on or nothing like that.
No, you're seeing what I wore today. I've got a t-shirt and jeans. That's what I wore. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
More relaxed, yeah. Because then you go in there with a suit and tie, they might think, hey, what is he trying to sell me? What is he trying to, I guess that makes sense too.
I want to be relatable.
And also on that topic, because I hear people will even tell the apartment complexes, I'll pay you $50 or $100 more a month if I could do this in your apartment complex. Now, do you ever do that?
Yeah, that's what happened today. Person came back and said, hey, because you're, and I don't really like this mindset. I don't think it's a very good business mindset. So for those that are listening and think like, oh, if someone's making a buck off of, my place, then I need to make more money too. That's a shitty mindset. It's, there's enough for everyone to go around. And so this person called me back and, they said, hey, my boss is up for it, but, would you be willing to pay $150 more a month? I said, it's, by the way, cheap. It's $950 was luxury apartments, stainless steel appliances, $950 a month. And I'm like, $1,100. I say, I'll tell you what, can you get me down to $1,050? And so I'm paying an extra $100. They agreed to $1,050. So I'm paying extra $100. The only thing I don't like about this place is that there's no washer dryer in the unit. And it's $1.25 every time you're going to do a wash and a dry outside in a community location. So my cleaners are going to have to go through a little bit more effort, which I'm not a huge fan of. But, at the end of the day, $1,050 for this beautiful luxury 1-bath, 1-bed apartment that's a quarter mile away from the highway and 2 miles away from the airport. I'm going to be booked all the time. So I'll go for it.
So are you doing, you said you're doing 1 bed, 1 bath. What are you listing them for? Are you listing them for 2 people, 4 people, or what?
My 1 beds, I'm doing 5 people. So you got the queen bed in the bedroom, the futon couch in the living room, which can fit 2 people, and then the air mattress that can be put somewhere else. So really it could be 6, but I don't want to cram 6 people in there and then be like, wait, this is only 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I think 5 could be comfortable as long as they understand what the situation is they're getting into. Nice.
So have you had any troubled guests yet?
Oh yeah. It's funny. The shared rooms, I didn't really have many troubled guests when I was doing that out of my house. But then of course, you let people do things on their own. And you know what though? I tell people all the time, I don't know of another company that has better customer service than Airbnb. It is so good. I've had 3 situations where I've had to file claims. One was a noise complaint, broken door, smoking pot in the place. And I think at one point they had a dog in there. Another one was a stolen ottoman. Like, really? You're going to come in and steal an ottoman of all things?
Really?
Yeah. And then the third was, these guests they broke just like every rule. I have a no smoking, no pets, no partying policy. And they essentially like broke all those rules. Mm-hmm. And all three of those guests, refused to pay any extra fees. So I took it to Airbnb and, they took care of me. So I have a very high risk tolerance. See, that would be one thing I would really suggest to people is determine what type of risk tolerance you're going to have. I think you need to adjust it based on if you own or if you arbitrage. If you're arbitraging, you need to be a little bit more particular on who you're letting in, because you've got, this community that can kick you out at any time. Whereas if it's a house, I can go apologize to my neighbors and, offer to take them to lunch. I don't know, do something that just makes them happy and they'll be okay. But I have a high risk tolerance. I figure, if this person breaks a door or steals an ottoman or anything, there's nothing that I can't handle that would, make me not want to have that person there. So, at the same time, I get people all the time sending me stuff like, "Oh, did you see this story? Someone was killed in an Airbnb." And it's like, well, that's the risk of doing business. That's if you're going to let that stop you, if you're going to let fear get in the way of you ever starting an Airbnb because you're just like, oh my gosh, what if they trash the place? Or, oh my gosh, what if someone gets killed in my house and yada, yada. Yeah, that's scary. But, what if you go and start a different company and, everyone says no to your product and then you're going bankrupt in 2 months? Like, there's a risk to every single business that you're starting.
No.
Go
ahead. Oh, sorry. Okay. So do you mainly do 1 bedroom, 1 bath in the apartments, or do you do 2 bedrooms?
I like the 1 bedroom, 1 bath in the apartments mainly because I'm always thinking worst case scenario. And what if this apartment complex after 12 months doesn't allow me back in? And I spent, because it was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, I spent, $8,000 getting it ready versus $5,000 to $6,000 getting it ready for 1 bedroom, 1 bath. At the end of the day though, because I own that furniture, I can move it to a different place, but I want to get the best return for my money in year 1 as possible. And I find that if I can keep my costs low getting into a place, then I'm going to be fine if I'm arbitraging. If I own the house, I'm looking long-term all the time. I want that 3 bedroom, 2 bath for the house 9 times out of 10.
So I have a question, because you said something about marijuana in the place.
Yeah.
With you being in a city in a state like California, and have you seen that if you do allow marijuana, like you say, hey, you're 420 friendly, have you know anybody in the area that have probably been able to charge a little bit more? Or?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know, but I'll tell you right now, I'm not attracting those guests. I'm attracting luxury. I want the business person. I want the family with kids. I want the couple that's going to be just looking for a place to stay because they're getting in at 8 p.m. and they want to go to Yosemite at 6 a.m. Okay. I do not want those people. And the times that I have gotten them is when most of the time I've had to file some sort of claim because they leave the place a mess, and that's just not something I want to deal with all the time. I want to take as much of the headache out of it as possible.
See, that's good. See, because me and Steve, I'd always talked about that. Like, hey, if you allow those type of people, would you charge a little bit more? But hey, if you already noticed the trend with the guests, no. Yeah, no way. The only thing I charge extra for is the extra guests. That's the only thing I charge extra for. If I'm promoting, and usually my formula for that is if I'm promoting that this place is fitting 6 people, then 1 to 3 is no extra charge, and then everyone after that middle person is going to be the extra charge, and usually $15 to $20 per person per night.
Okay,
so have to get on that, Steve.
No, big time. So dealing with apartment complexes. Now here's a huge thing for us that we Airbnb out of houses. We always put our smart locks on there. Now, how are they? How does that work with apartment complexes? How do you handle the locks?
Yeah, when you say the smart lock, are you talking about an electronic one?
Yeah, electronic or remote or whatever, anything that you have to, that doesn't involve a key. Yeah,
I'll admit I'm still a little stone age on that, just because I I just haven't gone the electric and smart lock way yet. So I've still just been doing lock boxes. And I do also think, though, if you're going to do that, if you're going to do the lockbox way, you need to have a system in place for lost keys and a system in place for changing the lockbox code. So once a month we change our code. Unless we have a troubled guest, then we'll always change the code after that troubled guest. And then I always have and here's just a good rule for anyone is, make sure that if you're expecting something out of your guest, it's got to be in that introduction instructions. And so my introduction instructions have the fees for if you do this, this, and this is the consequence of that. And one of them is a lost key. You lose the keys, you're paying me $50. And yeah. And so I've never had there's only been one person that's walked away with keys in their pocket. And I called them and they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that was in my pocket. And they brought it back 2 days later.
Wow.
Yeah. Make it hurt, right? Make it hurt.
Exactly.
So you guys, you use lock boxes. Is that a little bit easier for you? Like, are you just allowed to post them somewhere at the apartment complex?
Yeah, right next to the door is usually either the railing to go upstairs or the water pipe. And you can find places for sure. If it's got that little hook on the doorknob, just hook it there. I find, especially for apartment complexes, I find that's probably going to be the easiest way. They're probably not wanting you to put the smart lock stuff on there.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about cameras? Do you deal with cameras at all?
Yeah, I've got a Ring system at all my houses.
And a bit about apartments though. Yeah.
Again, because it's an apartment complex, I know they don't really like a whole lot of that stuff being put up. So, so far I haven't had any yeses to that, but because the apartment complexes have their own camera systems, I know I'm pretty safe with just using their own. But I haven't gone that route, and I don't know what it is about apartment complexes that just makes me feel more safe. But I just know that when I have a guest come into an apartment complex, the likelihood of them creating any issues is just so much lower than a house, because most of the time people realize, hey, I'm sharing a wall with someone, and if I make any excess noise, it's going to be known. Whereas like a house, I can probably hide that a little bit more.
I guess I meant like towards the if they bring extra guests and without trying to pay,
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm not a huge stickler for that. If they bring extra guests, they bring extra guests. But if they bring extra guests and they leave a mess, then I have that Ring system on my houses, which really allows me to be able to call them out. But haven't done that in the apartments, and honestly don't really have a good reason why.
Myself, I would, I'm always contemplating trying to do some arbitrage on myself, but I'm interested in how your catalog looks, or a catalog brochure, whatever it is. You wouldn't happen to have one close by, would you?
If you give me 15 seconds, I could grab one.
Okay,
grab it.
I'll be ready.
Because that's the thing, man. I hear these people doing these badass brochures, and I'm like, man, I gotta get one of these, man. And
you about to start arbitraging Stevie Stacks?
I want to get some, dude.
I have one right below me.
Oh, okay. And where'd you get yours made at?
That Vistaprint.
Okay. Is it all shiny and glossy and pretty, or what?
Yeah.
Because
one of mine that I use.
Okay. Is it open up to?
Well, I got to put my paperwork in it. I have my paperwork separate. But yeah.
What's up, Malachi?
Check it out.
I usually charge for this stuff, guys.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so it's a trifold. So there's my front there.
Nice logo, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh, I like that.
Is that a wolf?
It's a lion, actually.
A lion.
Yeah.
Almost like a saber-tooth tiger, because that long thing coming down right there.
Almost, right? Yeah. So the meaning behind that is when I grew up, my mom was always saying to have the courage of a lion and the sensitivity of a lamb. So the lion and lamb. But when I got into real estate investing, I just wanted to have this idea of courage and fearlessness, and I thought of a lion for that, and so that's where that comes from.
Nice.
Yeah. So that is the back end of it. Just a little motto there on the side, and then on the inside is a picture of my listings, a few of them.
Nice.
And then what we're all about here in the middle, my picture of me and showing that, I'm qualified on Airbnb, and then a few of my reviews here on the side.
That's cool. Where'd you get that made at?
I like that.
Where'd I get what?
Where'd you get it made?
I made it myself on canva.com, and then I had it printed at FedEx.
That's dope. I like that. Yeah, Canva is the truth.
It's good. It's really good.
Canva.
And then I've got on the back here, I've actually got this on a web design web page. So it's just fearlessflipping.com/rentals. So they can go there to like a business page. So it looks a little bit more official too.
Okay, so you leave some behind for them to contemplate. They'll have something to hold in their hand and show to their boss or whoever.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool because business cards are dumb, I think. But,
oh yeah.
But brochures, that's pretty neat, man. And so you go in there with the brochure, you tell them all about your thing, and you're paying more for that one. So so the arbitrage thing, you're thinking that's the best way to scale right now?
It's the best way to scale. It's the easiest to me to be able to not only to scale, but to help other people make a return on their money too. Because when you can, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 at the most is what you're spending to get into this. Well, that's great for one. So the majority of people can have that set aside to be able to do one. But you start getting into 5, 6, like my friend, 28 different ones in Irvine, California, and you're not using your own money. So to be able to also have a system in place and a program in place that's helping people to put forth the capital and help them get a great return on their money, I think that's easier than saying, hey, put up 60 to 70 grand for a house and get a return on that. $8,000 to $10,000, you can get a lot of people that are going to give money for that.
Nice.
So what are your walking in the door like for arbitrage? What are your startup costs, like furniture? Are you going high end? Are you just grabbing some stuff there while it's here and there, Facebook Marketplace, or how are you setting up?
Well, I am very blessed because I have a interior designer who is also on Extreme Home Makeover as of recently. So
Ooh.
Yeah, she just got hired for Extreme Home Makeover. So if you go to my listings and you're like, holy cow, this place is nice, it's all because of her. But she and I have negotiated some terms so that, essentially if I'm out of town or if anything's going on, she can go put the place together. And that's a whole other topic too, is just, 7 days before starting a listing, what that looks like. But she's a huge part of that. And so I would say for my 1-bedroom, 1-baths, with the necessities, all the things I get on Amazon, your vacuum and your ironing board and all that stuff together, I want to be right around $1,000, no more than that. And that's going to last me, for probably 3 to 4 months, for just stuff that's saved up. And then furnishing for that 1-bedroom, 1-bath, furniture probably is going to cost between about $3,000 to $4,000, and then I'm going to pay my interior designer about $1,000 to $1,500 for her time. So I'm hoping in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath to get out of there under $6,000. And then
Nice.
For the 3-2s, anywhere between $7,000 to $9,000.
Wow, okay. 7 to 9?
Yep.
Okay, that ain't bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. I've been thinking about going a little bit higher end after our last guest told us, he goes high end. 7 to 9 ain't bad. And that's pretty good high end stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Steven.
I was saying our last guest, he'll put 30,000 into one of his arbitrages. It's insane. Next level stuff.
Where's he out of though?
Dallas.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
The big thing that I have told a lot of people is it really depends on location. Like Fresno, people are not coming to Fresno for the same reason that they're going to Dallas. If I'm coming to Fresno, it's because I have to, not because I want to. And if I have to, then I'm going to probably look for the nicest stay at the lowest price versus in Dallas, you got a bachelorette party coming there with 20 girls that's willing to pay, $100 each per night, and suddenly you're getting $2,000 a night. That's great, but that's not going to happen in Fresno.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So you, since you do diversify. You do the flipping, you do the arbitrage, you do the long term. How does the word synergy come into play? How does one thing feed on the other? And you kind of gave us examples of that. How you got your long term tenants, you're putting them to work for you in a way. And how else has the synergy helped your business?
Well, the networking for sure. I've become the Airbnb guru in Fresno. So all these guys who are flipping, who are looking for, starting their own rental business. Myka's got some kids back there.
There you go.
So with them starting their own rental business, lots of people in Fresno are bragging about $200 to $300 of cash flow every month. And I'm over here, making sometimes $1,500 or more of cash flow. And they're wanting to know how I'm doing that, which has created partnership opportunities, which has created an opportunity for me to be able to sell my services, which is really cool. But then, as I'm coming across people that, want to sell their house and want to do the flipping thing and all that, for me, if I get a deal under contract, I get to also look at it as, do I want to flip and sell this, or do I want to flip and hold on to it and create an Airbnb situation? So, which is great because I'm always using other people's money in those, which means that like this 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, I didn't put a single dollar into that house. That was all other people's money. And it's making me over $2,000 a month, which is really freaking awesome.
Yeah, awesome. I think it opens up your opportunity when you mix the flipping with the Airbnb. I love that.
Exactly. Yep.
Man.
And so you mentioned selling your services. What kind of services do you sell?
Yeah, it's basically I've got an Airbnb Jumpstart program where I'm going to help that person understand and adopt every single one of my systems. Essentially, I tell them I'm going to take my brain, take it out, and put it into yours. And part of that program is also co-hosting with that person for 1 month so that they see how I communicate with guests and that they can adopt that same communication platform and then decide if they want to use it themselves or outsource it to a manager like me or to something like a guestie. So it's just essentially taking that person from point A, whether they have an Airbnb business or not, to point Z, which is multiplying or starting, your profits with Airbnb. And the way that I really share that and sell that is that, I was doing Airbnb for 4 years, not realizing how much money I was losing because I was only doing a room out of my house and didn't know about arbitrage, didn't know that an entire house would make me so much more money. And so when I was making, $600, $800, $1,000 a month with a room out of my house to literally 3 months later, now I'm grossing over $12,000 a month with 3 to 4 locations. It was because of the reason of that gap. In the middle of that gap was education and mentorship and courses and understanding the systems to reduce my learning curve, reduce my risk, and raise my profits. So that's really what I'm offering, is to help people not have to wait 4 years to do that and do it in a few months' time so that they can get off to the best start possible.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Are you listed on any other platforms besides Airbnb?
I listed my stuff on VRBO, and I don't know what it is. People don't look on VRBO in Fresno. I've never gotten a listing from there. So Airbnb works here. I'm a part of Furnish Finders as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yep. But I've never had to use it. I'm just a part of it. Here in Fresno, if I have less than 25 nights booked out of a month, I'm disappointed. Wow. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So, that's kind of where I'm at on
Definitely.
it, but at some point I know that there's probably going to be some changes and adjusting that has to be made. And I think I always tell people, worst case scenario, everyone says, oh, worst case scenario, you change your house from a regular, from an Airbnb rental to a regular rental. No, there's a couple steps in between that. Like, you can get those long-term travel nurses that are going to pay more money. You can get someone who's going to rent out a furnished home rather than a regular home for an extra $200 to $300 a month. And then at that point, if those still don't work, then, sell the furniture and turn it into a regular rental.
Yeah. To our listeners, that's corporate renting 101 right there.
Yeah.
He's giving it to you.
And so is this your full-time gig? Is real estate your full-time gig?
It is. Yeah. Part of a long roller coaster ride of other jobs and careers that I've had. This is the one that has definitely come to stay.
Nice. And when did you have the courage to just like quit your last job and say, I'm done, I'm doing this full time?
It was June of this last year.
Nice. Congratulations.
So then what is that? 4 months?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I guess what goal did you want to hit before you're like, okay, I'm after I get to this point, I'm going to jump. I'm going to quit for good.
At least $4,000 of reliable monthly income, which was done with 3 properties here in Fresno for Airbnb.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then after that, you saw the job just getting in your way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Taking away time from finding other properties, taking away time from putting time into my my podcast and YouTube channel, from finding other deals for flipping. It was just a job. It was fun, but it was just a job. And so a good friend of mine who's a wholesaler here in Fresno, really, it spoke to me when I interviewed him in May. And he said, if you're looking to do this business of real estate investing, you need to burn the boats. You can't have a plan B, because if you have a plan B, it'll always be safe. You'll always go back to it. And until that point, I hadn't really thought about it. You hear about a lot of people say, hey, use your full-time job to fund your dream. And I do believe in that. But if your full-time job is going to really not even fund your dream, but be the crutch for why you don't put a full-time effort into your dream, then at that point, why? Why hang on to it? And that's really what it was for me.
Nice.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Steve.
I guess one big thing that people say they don't want to leave their jobs for, they stick around, and is the insurance. How do you handle like the insurance part of that?
I go to an insurance company and tell them, how can they insure me?
Is it crazy expensive, like out there in the real world?
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, so just so you know, I'm single. I don't have kids, so it's a different situation for me. It's went from $70 of insurance costs every month with a job to $260 or $270 as a business owner. But I mean, for someone that's going to let something like that get in their way, that's just another thing of fear. Like you guys have heard me say it before. That's why I named it Fearless Flipping. I mean, there's too many things that people get stuck on that should be speed bumps, but become brick walls. And
I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've got a friend who's like, oh man, what am I going to name my LLC, and what's my pamphlet going to look like? I'm like, you're thinking about the wrong things. Those are important steps, but if that's what's on your mind, you're never going to take the first step. You need to be thinking about, who am I talking to next? Why doesn't everyone know what I'm doing? When are we going to get that first deal? How are we going to get that first deal? Those are the questions that you got to be thinking about. And at the end of the day, because you're thinking about those things, you're making so much money that you're just like, well, yeah, sure, insurance is costing me 5-fold, but I'm paying for it way better than what I was going to be making at my job.
That makes sense. And another thing that people bring up about not wanting to quit their jobs, even I hear it on Bigger Pockets, they say, hang on to your day job as long as you can, because it's easier to get financing for the next house. Now, how did you deal with that issue? It's true.
I'll be honest. Refinancing has been a bitch. Yeah, I mean, but luckily, because I create opportunities with my private money lenders through flipping, and for those people that are listening that don't know what private money lending is, it's essentially someone who has money in the bank, doesn't know what to do with it, isn't getting a great return, and they see an opportunity to invest with me. Because I have great relationships with my private money lenders, this one with this 2 houses on one lot, the idea was that I was going to flip it, refinance it, give my private money lender all their money back, and own a house free and clear and have my private money lender paid off. Well, when I went to refinance, because they haven't seen consistent income and I haven't owned this business of flipping and Airbnb for over 2 years, they couldn't create an opportunity, a situation where I could get what I needed for that refinance. So what I did is I just restructured the terms with my private money lender to last for the next 2 years, where they're getting paid a great return on their money. And then they're going to get, when I do finally refinance, they're going to get that lump sum at the end of 2 years, where they're making essentially another 6 or 7% on their money 2 years from now than they would today.
Nice.
Man, that's a nice way to structure it. Yeah, give them the 2 years, and that gives you 2 years to build up your business.
So here's the deal. I mean, and this is what I tell everyone is when it comes to real estate investing or owning your own business, if you're going to let something like insurance or let something like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get the refinance, or, oh, hey, I don't even know what to name my business, then you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur, because you have to be a problem solver. So for me, I know that every single thing that comes my way, I'm going to find a way to solve the problem. And I'm going to make smart decisions along the way that are going to allow me that if I do make a mistake, it's not going to break the bank. I'll give you a good situation. I didn't know about rental arbitrage until this year. When I found out about rental arbitrage, I aligned myself with the wrong course. I took the wrong course that was teaching the wrong way to do it. They were teaching the way of, oh yeah, just tell them that, you know, you want to put a lockbox out there because you have a lot of friends that are coming in all the time. And you know, you're not telling them that you're going to go do Airbnb. And so I did it the wrong way, and I wasn't transparent with my management company. I got away with that for 5 months. And then at the end of the 5 months, they did their semi-annual checks, and they found out, oh, this is weird. This place is too clean. This place has like a lot of towels and a lot of sheets. There's nothing in the fridge. What's going on here? They look it up on Airbnb. They find out that I've got this listing on Airbnb. They call me out. They say essentially, hey, you know, if you don't get out, we're going to evict you, yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm telling you this story because I looked at this worst case scenario before I ever started. And so what I found out from this apartment complex, and again, I'm not telling anyone to do this, do it the right way. Bring in something like this, be professional about it, share your intent, use the word Airbnb, make sure they understand what you're doing. But if you come into a situation like this, make sure you're looking down the road. Make sure you're asking, hey, if you're not happy with this situation, if for some reason we're getting consistent, you know, noise complaints, which shouldn't happen, but and you're not happy anymore, 3 months down the road, what's that going to look like for me? How much is that going to cost me? Is there an eviction fee? Are you going to evict me, or are we going to part ways peacefully? You know, you need to look at these things. And so essentially what happened was I only had to pay them $200 per month for every month that I lived there. So I only had to pay them $1,000 to leave, and they didn't evict me. They came to a peaceful agreement with me and said, hey, listen, you know, we know you're trying to run a business. Just don't do it on our grounds. If you give us your notice, you can get out of here in 30 days without any sort of, you know, issues on your rental agreement or on your rental record. And so again, I'm going to just bring this up as you've got to problem solve, but you also need to know worst case scenario going into it, no matter what you're doing.
I like that. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers. So when you said that you took a course or whatever, we're not going to put the course out there. We'll maybe talk off air. But you said so you tell them you're Airbnb. Well, you weren't telling them you were Airbnb. Are you telling them that you're doing a corporate lease or a corporate doing it like that, or how are you doing it?
You're talking about the way I was doing it when I didn't do it
the way you were doing it.
Yeah, I essentially did the wrong way by telling them that I was just going to live there myself, but I wasn't going to be there all the time. And so if I wasn't there all the time and had friends that were going to be in town for a couple of days, is that okay? And they said yes to that. But you know, I was so like dead set on I'm going to do this that I wasn't going to let anything stand in my way. And the first best case scenario that came around where it was going to be the best worst case scenario, I was ready to jump at, and I don't regret doing it. But I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. To add on to that, that's actually a very good learning lesson, because I've been in that situation with one of my arbitrages. Then the next two I was able to get the right way. But the first one, it's like, it's always that cloud hanging over your shoulder, over you, you know, like, is this going to happen? This going to happen? Man, when you do it the right way, it's easy.
Oh, I had sleepless nights that first week of just like, are they going to find out? Like, I know that, you know, based on the sublet agreement they had, that I'm in the right with that sublet agreement, but at the same time, they don't know I'm doing Airbnb, and it just didn't make me feel good. So yeah, got to do it the right way.
The comical thing about all this is that your house was too clean. It set off alarms because
Right.
it was too clean. That's how Airbnbs get busted. You know, we'd rather have it all dirtied up and ruined. Come on, man.
It's so funny. I mean,
Literally.
I hate to say it this way, but when I went in there to sign my, leaving in 30-day notice, the manager said, "Oh, you're Kyle." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm Kyle." And she's like, my leasing agent came back after doing the inspection, and she was like, "Something's up with it." And the manager was just like, "What do you mean it's too clean? Like, is there such a thing as it being too clean?" And she's like, "Something's just weird. Like, we need to look this up on Airbnb. I just have a hunch." And her hunch was right.
Jeez.
You see that, city council? One of the dangers of Airbnbs is the houses will be too clean and taken care of. You don't want that in your city. You want crack houses in your cities, right? You don't want this clean stuff going on.
There's no room for that.
Manicured lawns? Come on. We don't need that in our neighborhoods.
That's funny, man. But man.
Oh, man. This has been a great episode so far.
Yeah, so I guess we'll get into our round of questions. Hey, what is a tip that you would give to those that are looking to get started?
A tip to those that would be looking to get started is, man, off the top of my head, I would really just say you've got to be intentional. Mm-hmm. What I mean by intentional is setting up a plan. When I first got started, I was going on to Google and I was identifying which apartment complexes I was going to. I was identifying how much I needed to spend on a home in order to make the right return. And I had identified exactly what was going to be like the perfect scenario for me, so that when I came across it, I knew it was a winner. There's too many people, I think, that say they want to start something and want to get into something, but don't know what it would even look like if they came across it, so they never take action. So identify what that looks like for you. If you've only got $5,000, don't go looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Go for the 1-1s. If you're wanting to attract luxury, don't go looking in the bad neighborhoods because they're cheap. You're not going to get luxury. You're not going to get the business person. You're going to get the crack house that gives you headaches. Identify the type of person that you want to attract and the budget that you have, where that money is coming from, and what that place looks like, so that you know that when it's go time, that you're going.
Wow.
Nice. I have a question. What are and we talk a lot about hacks on this show, and you did house hacking yourself. And so what are some Kyle life hacks what are some of your favorite life hacks?
Ooh, man, you guys should have prepped me with these questions.
It seems Kyle, everything you're doing is kind of a hack, so yeah.
Well, man, I'm trying to think if this would even be a hack. Can you give me an example? Like, what's a life hack for you, Steve?
Okay, a life hack would be using credit cards to travel for free. That's a life hack.
I like that. Okay. Man, a life hack for Kyle. I've got a lot of mottos. I don't know if I have like hacks that come to mind.
Okay, what's some Kyle mottos?
Don't settle. Definitely don't settle.
Don't settle.
Which is probably why I'm still not married.
Don't worry, the unicorn is out there waiting for you.
Yeah.
They're all messed up, don't they?
Right. But yeah, no, a hack though. I guess the hack that I'm always looking for is, well, I guess this would go along the lines of a motto too. For a long time, I played defense because you go like you hear about Dave Ramsey, and it's all about get out of debt, and you got to pay off your home and all this stuff. To me, that's defensive. Like, you're going to always be investing in something like Cardone Capital. I invested in Cardone Capital. That was a defensive move. That was not an offensive move. An offensive move would have been taking that X amount of dollars that I invested into Cardone Capital and saying, I'm going to go learn about Airbnb and turn this money into 3 Airbnbs and go make $3,000 a month, rather than, oh, Grant Cardone knows what he's doing and I should trust him, and now I'm going to be happy with making $100 a month and just collecting a check. That's a quick, the best advice I've probably gotten in the last year I didn't take. I wish I would have taken it. And it was from an apartment, a guy in town who owns commercial real estate. He owns over 200 units of apartments here in town. And sorry, $200 million of units in apartments here in town. And he said, if you want to get into a syndicated deal, that's a quick way to lead a mediocre life. And I said, but this guy, Grant Cardone, knows what he's doing. That's where the best place for my money to be. And it was because I had a defensive mindset. I had an employee mindset, not an entrepreneur, do it on my own and multiply my money, not just 10x, but 100x that I could have been doing a lot better with that money than what I'm doing right now. So made that switch. And that's the important thing is, I problem solved. I figured out when I did that was not the right move. How can I do better moving forward?
You 100x'd Grant Cardone. That's awesome. Now, if you leverage that, say, hey man, I'm investing in your system. Can you jump on my podcast? And he jumps on, then there you go. There's your 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there. You might have an in.
I'm sure of the 10,000 people that are invested in the Cardone Capital, he's going to be on all of their podcasts, right?
He has to see how many listeners you have first, exactly. And then he might think about it.
I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
First one is, has anyone ever told you look just like Ed Norton?
Oh my gosh, Ed Norton, not in a while. I get a few others, but not Ed Norton in a long time.
Yeah, maybe you look just like him. Second one is, what's the best mistake you've ever made?
Ooh, the best mistake I've ever made. Business, life, anything?
Yeah, anything.
I'm telling you guys, you need to write down these questions and send them to me before.
Matter of fact, business and life. Okay.
Business was getting into business with someone just because I felt like I needed to be in business with someone. I could have done it a lot better on my own. I've learned that and applied that to my new business with real estate. I'm really glad I don't have a business partner. So in life, best mistake, probably not moving back to Fresno sooner. When my dad was diagnosed with bone cancer in 2015, I waited a year, and I wish I would have been back here sooner, but because I did eventually move back, I was really happy that I moved back.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Man, that's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for hopping on with us, man. And where can people find you?
Yeah, fearlessflipping.com. If it's okay with you guys, if I offer a little something for them.
Yeah,
go ahead.
If you go to fearlessflipping.com/consultation, you can book a free 10 to 15 minute call with me, whether you're interested in, learning more about my Airbnb systems or learning more about real estate investing. That is a great way to be able to connect with me. Again, fearlessflipping.com/consultation. Instagram, fearlessflipping316. Everything has this, logo right there. So if you see that logo, you got the right place.
It's like a lion eating a house, y'all.
Pretty much.
Making sure I get it on right now.
Fearlessflipping.com. You calling for your consultation, Myka?
Yeah, I am actually.
There you go.
I'm calling for a consultation on the rental flipping and the rental market out in Fresno, since nobody knows what it is.
Every time we interview somebody, Myka starts checking it. Oh, I need to go to Chicago. Oh, I need to go to New Orleans. Oh.
There you go. Well, that's the one thing I'll just leave you guys with is, there's probably a lot of people out there that are wondering, wow, Lucky, Myka, and Steve, they live in Dallas. Of course, that's great. Well, you know what? That's what I thought about Scottsdale when I moved back to Fresno. But you just never know what's a good place. And there's those shocking little small cities that just have something that are attracting a lot of people. Don't overlook those. Take a look at your city. Take a look at what's around you. There might be a hidden gem.
That is actually my secret. I've been targeting some small cities no one goes to, but they have the attractions there, and it works. That is the truth.
Smart.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle Stanley. Awesome job. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks you for hopping on. And we'll definitely be letting people know about your flipping.com. It'll all be in the show notes.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.